Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to Twitter right now, Raila Odinga is trending at number 1. Davis Chirchir is trending at number 2. Uhuru Kenyatta is trending at number 3. Mandamano trending at number 4. MC Gogo trending at number 5. But my focus is on the first 4 items. Why are those 4 items trending on Twitter? They're trending because those are the items or the issues Kenyans are talking about right now on Twitter. In fact, if you go to Facebook, you go to TikTok, Kenyans are angry and Kenyans are bitter with the announcement which were made yesterday by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, where they announced new prices of petroleum products. They increased the cost of super to 211. And Matatu guys already increased the fare. They increased the cost of diesel to 201. It has never reached that level. Paraffin of all the things is now retailing at 201. And Kenyans are bitter and are angry. And of course, 2 cabinet ministers have already spoken about this issue. Davis Chirchir, who is now very clear that there is nothing they can do.
Well, today and going forward, and we are likely to even be going to harder times because of these are Platts prices from OPEC, and there's nothing much we can do about. There's been some 3.6 million barrels.
And of course, Moses Kuria also spoke about it. And according to Moses Kuria, the prices will be increasing 10 bob every month until February. And therefore, as a Kenyan, you need to tighten your belt.
The Ministry of Energy has failed Kenyans and must take responsibility for this unpleasant situation. They should take cognizance of the fact that it is the ordinary citizen who bears the brunt of high petroleum prices. It is painful to imagine the plight of the widowed mother in Kibera, Kamkunji or Mathare, who currently earns less than Kenya shillings 200 for washing clothes, yet is expected to fork out 92 shillings on a litre of kerosene daily.
William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua, and Musalia Mudavadi knew that these prices were going to increase, so they took off. So they are not in the country.
Nataka niwaambie hii mafuta inaongezwa usiku na mchana. Mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga, tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida. Watu wa Manga.
Raila Odinga and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance decided to issue a statement which is going to form the basis of this analysis. And I listened to that statement. The statement is perfect.
Will get worse or remain the same. We however refuse to ask you to tighten your belts. You have done enough. The ball is squarely in the court of the regime. They either act or await the fate that has fallen other insensitive and incompetent regimes across the continent.
And that statement by Azimio actually addressed almost all the issues affecting Kenyans.
The government says the reason for the increase in fuel is global, global surge in oil prices. But a few months ago, the Kenya Kwanza government signed a deal with Gulf countries for oil importation. And they said this deal would reduce the demand on the dollar, which means then the shilling would come down and also reduce the price of fuel as well. What does the opposition make of this promise that was made by Kenya Kwanza?
I mean, and as far as you're concerned, that is really the cause of the problem you're having when they interfered with the OTS. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to you as somebody who has been a minister for energy in my other early incarnations. So that is the cause of the mess that we're having. They say that we are going to do a G2G and that they're going to pay in Kenya shillings. Now you ask yourself, what are the Arabs in the Middle East going to do with Kenya shillings? She's falling down. So the time, as we say, the chicken are coming back home to roost.
But the question which I asked myself, was that statement by Azimio really necessary? Because I paid very close attention also to what Kenyans were saying on Facebook, what Kenyans were saying on Twitter, what Kenyans were saying on TikTok. Majority of those who voted for Raila Odinga were of the opinion that Raila Odinga ought to take a break and let Kenyans suffer. They want Kenyans were rambwe. That is the message. And I was wondering whether Raila Odinga, Azimio, Kalonzo Musyoka have a communications team that actually sits down and normally track some of these issues. I remember when I was working for Okoa, Kenya, one of my responsibility was to monitor what Kenyans are saying online. Then you report. You say, okay, this time, this is what Kenyans are saying. On this issue, this is what they are saying. So you give them. So they decide what to do with it. I don't know whether Azimio, as we speak, have those kind of individuals. So in this video, I want to try and explain to you guys why personally I think that the time for press conferences is over. And that Raila Odinga and Azimio should now focus on 2027. If they want to save Kenyans, they should put more emphasis and focus on 2027 election, because William Ruto is actually providing them with everything they need to defeat him in 2027.
I mean, a straight answer would be, how come that fuel in Uganda is cheaper than fuel in Kenya? So, and yet the fuel being sold in Uganda goes through Kenya. That tells you that that kind of explanation is escapist and has no basis whatsoever. We should address ourselves to the crisis that is there in the country and the monopolies that have taken our fuel and economic sector captive.
But before you do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is now. Let us go back a bit to the history and figure out what Ruto used to tell his supporters about two things. Uhuru Kenyatta introduced the issue of subsidies, because by that time there was the war in Ukraine, so everything had gone up. So Uhuru Kenyatta cautioned Kenyans and he introduced some subsidy, which William Ruto really dismantled. And when he became the president, he removed the subsidies. And of course, Kenyans are wondering, where are those subsidies going?
Wenzangu wa Bungoma, musicheze na moto. Si mumecheza na moto na mumeumia? Si mumecheza na moto na mumeumia? Munataka kurudi kwa moto ama munataka kuokoka? Munataka kuokoka? Njia ya kuokoka ni baba. Nawaambia. Njia ya kuokoka ni nini? Njia ya kuokoka ni nini? Afadhali mzee ambaye ni mtulivu, ambaye hana haja ya kujaza mifuko yake, ambaye atachunga masilahi ya watu yake, badala ya mdomo tamtamu, tamtamu, lakini akiingia ni wale wa kufanya moja yako.
And of course, William Ruto was also very clear that the increase in cost of fuel was as a result of poor policies by Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee government. But let us not get there. Why do I strongly believe that Raila Odinga, as much as he has issued that good statement, ought not to have issued that statement? I think Raila Odinga ought just to stay at home, or this was the right moment for me, if you ask me. This was the right moment for Raila Odinga and Hassan Joho to emerge playing golf somewhere in Vipingo. Kalonzo Musyoka appear with Martha Karua somewhere, just having tea. This was the right moment. But of course, I don't work for them. I don't work with them. They have their own strategies. But why do I strongly believe that the idea of press conference should end? Number one, Kenyans need to learn lessons. And they need to learn it bitterly. So that next time we go into election, Kenyans will be able to take elections seriously. So that you will not be rallied based on tribe or based on other factors like lies. For example, it would be good for Luos to vote for Raila Odinga, for example, because they believe in Raila Odinga, not because Raila Odinga is a Luo. Or Kikuyus voting for Ruto, not to punish Uhuru, but based on what Ruto is capable of offering. Right now, if you go to Twitter, Togege are actually mocking themselves. And I'm not sure whether if elections were to be held today, Ruto will still get the same amount of money. And of course, there are those who believe that, I'm reading those comments, that Raila was not the option. Even if Raila were to be on the ballot today, they will still vote the same. But majority are having a second thought. So Kenyans need to be taught a lesson. And they can't be taught a lesson by Raila Odinga going outside there and appearing in a press conference. No. Raila just need to relax. That's important. Number two, Raila and Azimio should now focus on 2027. Minus the drama. Because those drama will not work. They should focus on the real issues. In fact, the other day I was telling someone that Raila Odinga and Azimio need to do a few things. They need to identify a presidential candidate. After identifying a presidential candidate, whether Kalonzo, whether Raila or whoever, because that's the only way they can save Kenyans, identify a presidential candidate. Then now focus on the issues. You know, like in the last election, William Ruto identified issues. One of them was the hustler versus dynasty, where he made the hustlers believe that their problems originated from Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga and the Gideon Moi. Now, that's not the case now. So, Azimio should now identify the real issues affecting Kenyans. If they don't know those issues, let me just give them a tip of it. The first issue affecting Kenyans today is tax. Kenyans are being taxed. Yesterday, there was the story of taxing education or what? You know, a Kenyan earning money, salary, is overtaxed. So they should identify taxation and figure out how they can simplify it to ordinary Kenyan. They can have tax consultant who will break it down, compare payslip of a teacher in Uganda and a teacher in Kenya, then calculate the percentage of tax. They can do that. Number two is the issue of cost of living. You know, they can also identify and focus on cost of living. There's also the emerging issue of education. You know, the issue of nepotism. Those are the issues they should focus on. I don't expect Azimio and the entire brigade, Kalonzo, Martha Karua, and blah, blah, meeting in Serena to issue a statement over EPRA. That's reactionary. If they were to do that, they ought to have done it, because I'm sure they were aware. They ought to have done it 2 or 3 days ago, so that when these guys were going to make this announcement, they should have known that, of course, Azimio warned us. And of course, you add propaganda. You know, the good thing with propaganda, you only need a percentage to be right. So if even 10% is right, even if you lie 100%, and that's what Ruto is doing, Ruto will identify only 1% right, 99% wrong, and he will convince Kenyans with that. So they need to focus on 2027. Forget about this drama of press conferences. In fact, this statement, they could have written it and posted it on Raila Odinga's Facebook page, Kalonzo's Facebook page, or they should have shared it the way they normally do. So for me, that's it. Number three, it is also now the time for Azimio to go to the ground with real facts. Going to the ground with real facts mean, if you watch Sam Gituku and Moses Kuria, that is real fact. The guy is saying this. Then you ask people, you call live from Eldoret, what is the cost of oil? These guys need to start going to the ground. And if they can't do that, then I think they should contact the deputy governor for Homa Bay. This guy did something to Awete when he was contesting for the governor. He would just go with he would take the budget. Awete said, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. Then he'll go. Like if it's a specific area, go to them, open it. Okay, they said watajenga hii shule hapa, hiyo hospitali watamaleza. This, have they done it? No. Na pesa imeenda. So Azimio should now go to the ground with real facts. Real facts. If it's on taxation, just go to the ground, meet people, talk, give them flyers, tell them this is what's happening. Just feed them. The cost of fertilizer. If you are saying that Russian government donated the fertilizer, prove. Just have a clip of Russian President Putin talking about it and challenge Kenyans between Putin and Ruto. Who can you believe? Like you, I want to ask you, if Putin were here and Ruto were here, and Putin tells you that I gave these guys fertilizer, and Ruto tells you we never received fertilizer, who would you believe? I'm asking this question to the UD supporters. Who would you believe between Ruto and Putin? You all know you'll believe Putin. So they need to figure out how they are going to go to the ground with real facts. Number four, by going for these press statements and conferences, the fact is Kenya Kwanza will retreat to their cocoon bases with propaganda. And they're good at it. And they distort. They just call for prayer rallies, go there, talk, yeah? Azimio should not provide them with that opportunity. Just remain silent. Let Kenyans feel it. Kenyans will feel it. Right now, this is my token. I've just removed it from power. Because the moment I began talking, it started beeping. Why? Because I just bought the 1,000, I don't know, 2 days ago, and it's now over. Those are the realities. It's over. Kenyans are facing that kind of a situation every day. So this is their time. Not provide them with opportunity for propaganda. And lastly, and this is very important for Azimio, everything in this world has a limit. That limit is called elastic limit. Kenya Kwanza is stretching Kenyans. And the much they stretch Kenya is going to reach a limit which is called elastic limit. When it will reach that elastic limit, Kenyans themselves will say, enough is enough. And definitely, if you ask me, Kenyans themselves will say, now we are starting our Unga revolution. You must reduce the cost. You must add subsidies. So and so must leave office. Until that time, the press conferences, the press statements will not serve anything. The mandamanos will not serve anything. Until next time, this is Makwiny. And by the way, there's a business I'm running somewhere, and I was like, there's something I normally buy. I used to buy it at 6,500 October last year. Right now, it's 8,800. Bye-bye.